Now, one of the biggest questions that we get is that when you get a brand new bandsaw, how do you go through and set them up? How do you adjust the guides, and how do you get the most out of your bandsaw? And we're standing in front of the 14-inch bandsaw over here, the 14 SUV. Let's take a brand new one out of the box, and we'll go through the entire setup process and show you from crate to cut how to set up your bandsaw. Now, your bandsaw may come shipped in a number of different methods, the most typical of which is just like this, standing upright on the pallet with some 2x4s screwed to the side to keep it from tipping over. Now, when you receive your bandsaw, the first thing you want to do is to have a walk around, look at the crate. This is a big heavy machine. It's going cross-country by truck, and it may get a little bit of damage on the outside of the package, but you want to have a pretty close look at it and then open the container pretty quick to make sure that it has no damage. And you'll notice a little sign right here. Inspect your machine for damage within the first 24 hours, and if you notice any, give a call to Laguna Tools. Let them know that you have the machine, that it might have some damage, and they can send out whatever parts are necessary. If you see any obvious damage at the time of delivery, take a few moments and note it on the delivery receipt with the driver. Typically, if you're doing a setup, it's nice to have a friend or an assistant over to help you out because it's a big, heavy item. And in order to get this off the pallet and unwrapped, you can do them by yourselves, and I'll do it by myself here today, but you probably want to get a little bit of help because some of the items are very big, they're heavy, and a little bit awkward to move. You'll see that the bandsaw comes shipped with these 2x4s to stabilize it. If you're going to do the setup right here where the bandsaw sets, it's not bad. But if you want to move the bandsaw and you have access to a heavy-duty dolly like you see right here, in order to move it, what you want to do is pull these side 2x4s off. Now we've got the 2x4s off, we can go ahead and unwrap the machine. But save the 2x4s. You probably want to use these for other projects later, but specifically if you purchased a mobility kit, this will come in handy to install that later. Now I put some safety glasses on for when I cut the metal banding. You'll see either metal or plastic banding around your machine, and this can spring out when you cut it, so just put on some safety glasses and some gloves. It can be a little bit sharp. Go ahead and unwrap this guy. The box will grab from the bottom and slide it straight up off the top of your bandsaw. The owner's manual is right here on the saw. Let's go ahead and remove that. And it typically is going to be taped right to the front of the machine. And you can take this off and refer to the setup guides and the setup instructions that are inside the manual so you can get the most out of your setup here. The next step is going to be to remove the outside wooden structure from the saw, and you simply grab a hammer or a pry bar and you're going to knock it loose from the pallet and lift this off from the outside of the machine. Now we've got the outside crate off the machine. Let's go ahead and unwrap it and get some of the individual components off it to make it a little bit lighter so we can remove it from the pallet. Now if you ordered a mobility kit with your saw, it'll be strapped right here to the side. Simply go through with your razor knife, being careful not to scratch the machine or cut any of the wires. And remove it from the side. Bandsaw blades are typically wrapped and packaged with the machine and wrapped up here. So these will be our bandsaw blades right here. Let's go ahead and remove those. And we'll set those to the side, and we'll go through and count those in just a moment here. Okay, this is the main table. This is heavy, this is cast iron, so either be careful when you lift it up or get a friend to help you out. We're going to take this, lift it to the side, and we're going to set it out of the way for right now. The same thing with the fence and the rest of the mobility kit. Careful that this doesn't tip off on you. Let's go ahead and grab that. And again, this is the motor. It's going to be a little bit heavy, so 2 hands or get a friend to help you out. And I like to raise up the upper guide post. Now when the machine is first shipped, you're going to notice that some of the components are greasy. This is packing grease that they put on here so you don't get any rust. Just watch out for the grease. If you've got good clothes, put them to the side and put on some garage clothes. And when you do the setup, let's go ahead and we'll get that wiped off as well. Let's get the motor down and out of the way. Now is a good time to kind of do just a real basic wipe down so that when you take the machine off the pallet, your hands don't slip. And we'll just get some rags and wipe off some of this packing grease that you'll see around on the machine. You'll see it on the posts up here on the tension knob. You'll see it on the back side of the saw here with the tension mechanism. We'll wipe that off. You're going to see it down here on the cast iron for the trunnion assemblies. And just go ahead and give everything kind of a nice wipe off right now. It makes it a little bit easier to handle, and it kind of helps to ensure that your hands aren't going to slip when you start taking the machine down and off the pallet. Now in the bottom cabinet, you're going to see there's a little bit of packing grease right here as well. We'll get some of this wiped off, but more importantly, you're going to see in the bottom here, there's some of the accessories here. Here's our Allen wrenches that we're going to use to do some setup. And this is the tool bracket for the onboard tool storage. And a package of leveling bolts. If you have a mobility kit, you're going to use 2 of these in the front. If you don't have a mobility kit, you want to level all 4 corners, you've got all 4 sitting right here. The next thing we want to do is unbolt it from the pallet so we can remove it. Simply go to each of the corners, take off the nuts and bolts here, and have this bolted to the pallet, and we'll do that on all 4 corners. Now there's a couple of ways to remove this from the pallet. I suggest getting a friend to help you out, and to make the load as light as possible, what I would recommend is leaving the motor off and separate here, but rotating the box where you've got plenty of cord to be able to get this off of the pallet quite easy.